All right, so this is the video 4 looking at Neo-Freudians. So, Neo-Freudians. Freud's ideas were very controversial. However, they attracted many followers to extend his ideas. These pioneering psychoanalysts and others were and are now called Neo-Freudians. The 4 people you need to know are Alfred Adler, Karen Horney, Carl Jung, and then we've already learned about Erik Erikson. So, Neo-Freudians, they accepted the ideas of Freud relating to defense mechanisms, the development of personality in childhood. They believed in id, ego, and superego, and they also believed in the dynamics of anxiety and how we're struggling to understand the conflicts and dealing with anxiety. However, they de-emphasized sex and our sexual impulses. And they highlighted a lot that has to do with your social impact, your environment, and how you cope with your environment. The first person is Alfred Adler. Adler's school of thought was on an individual psychology, which means that you were really trying to understand your self-worth. He believed much of our behavior is driven by our efforts to conquer our childhood's feelings of inferiority, not good enough. His childhood was centered around being sick, so he explored his history by evolving new ideas. He believed in the concept of inferiority complex. Having an inferiority complex is to a person feeling that they lack worth and don't measure up to the standards of society. You may feel inadequate and insecure. He also believed that your birth order influences your personality and your character traits. 3 fundamental social tasks he believed are important to individuals is that we strive to be better at our careers and in our occupational tasks. Our sole purpose is also centered around our societal tasks and our friendships. And he also believes another sole purpose is to love, finding an intimate partner for a long-term relationship. And we're really centered around these 3 tasks in order to live a successful life. Karen Horney also worked with Adler, and she researched the social aspects of childhood and growth. She believed children struggle to overcome helplessness, feeling helpless, not good enough, and dealing with anxiety. And their children are really struggling to find love and security. One of the things that she did not believe in was Freud's penis envy idea. So Freud believed that women have penis envy. And what this means is penis envy is Freud's perspective that women have weak superegos. And we struggle to be like men because the penis essentially means masculine man. And when you're a man, often it leads to power. So we have essentially this power envy that men have in our society. And we struggle with that as women. Okay. Horney did not believe in this idea. Carl Jung, similar to Freud, in that he believed in unconscious nature drives out our behaviors. He believed in a great deal of the unconsciousness. However, he believes that we have a collective unconscious. So we have that stuff below the surface. However, he believes the part of the unconscious is passed down from person to person and that is inherited and common to all members of species. He believes that we have a common reservoir of images from our past that we all share, you and I all share. Some of these things are archetypes. We have universal themes in various cultures. So if we and the reoccurring themes. So if we ask, he believed that a hero usually is an archetype that we see as somebody who is masculine and powerful. Okay, and he believes that we're born with this idea or this image in our collective unconscious from a young age. He also believes that we struggle with a persona. We often wear masks. We wear masks because these are what we hope, and we cover up a lot of what is in our unconscious. A mask is one image per role to help us manage our ego, and it's how we should function in our social system. It's how and what society wants us to be, but we conceal a lot about who we truly are. So let's talk about the difference between the psychoanalytic and the psychodynamic. The psychoanalytic is Freud's idea. Freud died in 1939. So let me fix this here. There's a Freudian slip. His ideas are known as the psychoanalytic approach. He is still well known for his research on the id, ego, superego, child dynamics, defense mechanisms, free association, and wish fulfillment. The psychodynamic approach are the new Freudians, the new contemporary psychologists that studied his idea, however, broke off and started creating new ideas that influence our and believe in our social dynamics. They believe most of our mental life is in our unconsciousness, and we struggle with internal conflicts among our fears, wishes, and values, and childhood shapes the personality and ways of being attracted to others. So the psychodynamic approach would be Alfred Adler, Karen Horney, Carl Jung, and then we've already studied Erik Erikson's ideas. Let's talk about assessing. Assessing is a method for evaluation, like giving a test. Different assessments are given to understand one's personality and given them proper treatment on how to treat an individual. Tools for assessing personality is different for each of the different personality theories. We've studied the psychodynamic. There are different tests with the different personality traits, which we'll study later: humanistic, trait, and social cognitive. So let's talk about assessing the unconscious. A projective test is is a personality test aimed to provide this psychological x-ray by asking test takers to describe an ambiguous stimulus or tell a story about a picture. So what this test is it's designed to trigger one's inner dynamics and to divulge your unconscious. The Rorschach Inkblot test and the TAT, the thematic apperception test, are two projective tests that help divulge the unconscious. The thematic apperception test was given by Henry Murray. The thematic apperception test is a projective test in which people express their inner feelings, interests, through stories that make up the ambiguous pictures. So you may be given a picture that is ambiguous, meaning that it could have several meanings, and they ask what's occurring. The therapist then will help explore the storyline, and they may give it the manifest is the storyline, and they may help you understand the meaning behind each picture that you're talking about. The Rorschach Inkblot test, is the most widely used projective test. It's a set of 10 inkblots, and it seeks to identify people's inner feelings by analyzing their interpretations of inkblots. Herman, as a child, would drop ink on sheets of paper, and his friends would describe what they see. Okay, he saw that his friends were actually telling about what was going on at home. So these set of 10 inkblots designed to identify people's feelings and what they're interpreting. So a lot of people oppose the projective test because they're very subjective, they're open to interpretation, they lack reliability, which means that they're different results each time. They're not valid in what they're diagnosing. They could misdiagnose people. And they lack strong evidence. Psychologists who support it states that it does give you a glimpse in the unconsciousness, and it's often used as an icebreaker. So modern research in Freud. Freud does not have a biology to really back up his research. At this point in time, there was no access to neurotransmitters, DNA. It was a time period before science when they didn't have good insight on human behavior. And now a lot of Freud's beliefs are contradictions with science and what's taking place. Developmental psychologists argue that development is lifelong. Freud argues that it's mostly our childhood experiences that influence us. A lot of people question, can children really remember the trauma that they experienced in childhood? They also looked at gender development, and they believe gender development begins before the Oedipus complex, like Freud argued. In gender development might also be biological. Freud underestimated peer influence. Many doubt the Oedipus complex, having a love for your mom or dad. Dream theories have also been disputed. There's a lack of evidence to support wish fulfillment. And there's not scientific evidence that really supports Freud and so you can't make true predictions.